Have you ever planted something that looked perfect and then watched it take over your whole yard? Maybe you planted a pretty little flower on a Sunday afternoon. It looked small. It looked friendly. It looked like it would just sit there and be nice. Then a year went by. Then 2 years. And that same friendly little plant was climbing your fence, cracking your sidewalk, or choking out every other plant nearby. Today, I'm showing you 8 plants that did exactly that to me. Some of them cost me hundreds of dollars to dig back out. One of them can actually hurt you if you touch it wrong. And every single one of them taught me a lesson the hard way. So here's my question for you before we even start. Have you ever planted something you regretted? Drop it in the comments. I read every one, and I want to know which plant caused you the most trouble. Stay with me to the end, because plant number 1 is the one that genuinely scares me a little, even now. Hey, welcome back to Plantedge. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about real gardening, the stuff that actually works, backed by real science, explained in plain, simple words anyone can understand. No fancy terms, no fluff, just what works and what doesn't. Before we jump in, if you find any value in this video, please take 2 seconds to hit subscribe, tap that like button, and drop a comment below. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and it costs you nothing. Okay, let's get into it. Plant 8, running bamboo. Let's start with a plant that looks amazing in photos, running bamboo. Tall, green, swaying in the wind. It looks like something out of a fancy resort. Garden centers love to sell it as a natural privacy fence. Just plant a row, and in a couple years, you've got a wall of green blocking your neighbor's view. That's what I was told when I planted a row of it along my back property line. The first year it looked great, thick, tall, exactly what I wanted. By year 2, new bamboo shoots were popping up 10 feet away from where I planted it. By year 3, it had pushed underneath a wooden fence and was coming up in my neighbor's yard. He was not happy, and honestly, I don't blame him. Here's the science behind it. Running bamboo spreads through underground stems called rhizomes. These rhizomes can travel many feet away from the main plant, sometimes moving 3 to 5 feet in a single growing season. They're strong enough to push through thin fencing, cracked concrete, and even some plastic barriers if they're not installed deep enough. Getting rid of it is brutal. You basically have to dig a trench around the entire area, at least 2 feet deep, and pull out every single rhizome. Miss even a small piece and it grows right back. USDA zones 5 through 9 are where this spreads the fastest. What I grow instead now, clumping bamboo like Fargesia. It gives you that same tall, green privacy screen look, but it grows in a tight clump instead of sending out runners. It stays exactly where you plant it. Hardy in zones 5 through 9, and after 6 years in my yard, it has never once crossed the line. Plant 7, garden mint. Mint feels like the safest plant in the world. Everybody's grandma grows mint. It smells amazing. You can put it in your tea. What could go wrong? I'll tell you what went wrong. I planted a small mint plant directly in the ground next to my kitchen garden, thinking I'd just snip a few leaves whenever I wanted fresh mint. Simple, right? By the end of that same summer, the mint had spread into my tomato bed. The next spring, it was coming up in the lawn. 2 years later, it had basically taken over an entire corner of my yard, and it was choking out a row of basil I had planted right beside it. Mint spreads through the exact same kind of underground rhizome system as bamboo, just on a smaller scale. Those rhizomes are shallow, fast-growing, and nearly impossible to fully remove once they're established, because any tiny broken piece left in the soil will regrow into a brand new plant. USDA zones 3 through 8, basically anywhere in the country. What I grow instead now, mint in a container, that's it. I keep a big pot on my patio and I get all the fresh mint I want with zero spreading. If you want it in the ground, sink the entire pot into the soil so the rhizomes can't escape. Simple fix, and I haven't lost a single plant to mint since. Plant 6, English ivy. English ivy is sold as the answer to every bare wall and boring fence. Deep green leaves, climbs anything, fills in fast. It has that classic old European cottage look. I planted it along a brick wall on the side of my house in the early 2000s. It looked beautiful climbing up that wall for the first few years. People complimented it constantly. Here's what nobody tells you. Ivy doesn't just climb. It digs in. Those little clinging roots work their way into brick mortar, wood siding, and roof shingles. By year 6, I had ivy growing under my roofline, and small cracks were showing up in the mortar between my bricks. A contractor later told me ivy is one of the most common causes of hidden structural damage on older homes. On top of that, it had spread across the ground and was smothering a flower bed nearby, blocking sunlight from everything underneath it. Removing mature ivy from a wall is slow, careful work. You have to peel it back by hand, because pulling too hard can damage the surface underneath. Then you have to deal with the root system in the soil, which spreads wide and regrows from small fragments. USDA zones 4 through 9. What I grow instead now, climbing hydrangea. It gives you that same lush, climbing, old-world look with big white flower clusters in early summer, but it doesn't dig into brick and mortar the same destructive way, and it's much easier to keep in bounds with an annual trim. Hardy zones 4 through 8. Plant 5, Trumpet Vine. Trumpet Vine has gorgeous orange-red flowers, and hummingbirds absolutely love it. I planted one small vine at the base of a wooden trellis, expecting a nice, controlled climbing plant with pretty flowers all summer. Year 1, it barely grew above the trellis. I actually thought I'd bought a dud plant. Year 2, it exploded. It grew over the trellis, along my fence line, and started sending up new shoots from the ground 15 feet away. By year 4, I had trumpet vine coming up through cracks in my driveway. Trumpet vine spreads 2 ways at once, which is part of what makes it so hard to control. Above ground, the vine itself can grow 25 feet or more in a single season. Below ground, it spreads through the same kind of aggressive root system as bamboo and mint, sending up new plants far from the original. Cutting it back doesn't slow it down. If anything, cutting the vine can trigger even more new shoots from the roots. USDA zones 4 through 9. What I grow instead now, trumpet honeysuckle, similar bright. Tubular flowers that hummingbirds go crazy for, similar climbing habit on a trellis, but a much more manageable root system that doesn't send runners across your entire yard. Hardy zones 4 through 9. Quick pause here. If any of these stories are reminding you of your own yard right now, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more gardeners find this video before they make the same mistake. Okay, let's keep going. Plant number 4 is a personal one for me. Plant 4, Bishop's Weed, Goutweed. Bishop's Weed is sold under fancy names at the garden center, sometimes labeled Snow on the Mountain, because of its pretty white and green leaves. It's marketed as the perfect ground cover for shady spots where grass won't grow. That's exactly the problem I had. I've got a shady spot under an old maple tree where grass has never once survived, so I planted Bishop's Weed there, hoping to finally fill that bare patch. First summer it worked beautifully. A soft green and white carpet, exactly where I wanted it. By year 2, it had crossed the edge of the bed in 3 different directions. By year 4, it was coming up in my lawn, in a totally separate flower bed on the other side of the tree, and right along my house foundation. This plant spreads through deep underground rhizomes that break apart easily. Every broken piece becomes a brand new plant, and those rhizomes have a nasty habit of tangling into the root systems of whatever else is growing nearby. I lost a small hosta patch to it within 3 seasons. You can't till the area to remove it, because tilling just chops the rhizomes into hundreds of new plants. The only method that actually works is smothering it completely with cardboard and a thick layer of mulch, left in place for 2 full growing seasons. USDA zones 3 through 9. What I grow instead now, heuchera, also called coral bells. Same shade tolerance, same low mounding shape, but with much prettier leaf color, and it stays exactly where you plant it. Hardy zones 4 through 9. Plant 3, ribbon grass. The variegated white and green striped leaves of ribbon grass are genuinely beautiful, and they move beautifully in the wind. The plant tag said it was perfect for tough spots where nothing else grows. I planted a row along my back fence. The first year it looked incredible, full and lush. By year 2, new shoots were showing up 2 feet outside the original bed. By year 3, it had spread underneath my patio and actually lifted 2 paver stones a half-inch off level. That patio was laid on a proper concrete pad, and the ribbon grass still found a way through. Ribbon grass spreads through underground rhizomes that travel sideways several feet each season. They don't stop at bed edges, patio pavers, or anything else in their path. USDA zones 4 through 9. And it spreads even faster in warmer climates. What I grow instead now, little bluestem, a native prairie grass that stays in a tight, upright clump. It has beautiful blue-green color in summer that turns a coppery red in fall and holds that color through winter. Hardy zones 3 through 9, and it has never crossed a single inch beyond where I planted it. Plant 2, Periwinkle Vinca Minor. Periwinkle is sold everywhere as the solution for shady slopes. Evergreen leaves, pretty purple-blue flowers in spring, fills in fast and supposedly keeps weeds out. It sounds like the perfect answer to a problem spot. I planted it on a shady slope behind my shed, where grass wouldn't grow and rain kept washing away the soil. First year it worked exactly as promised. The slope filled in and the erosion stopped. But Periwinkle doesn't know when to stop. By year 3, it had crept under my fence into the neighbor's yard. It climbed into a nearby flower bed and completely smothered a small patch of native wildflowers I had been trying to grow there for years. Periwinkle forms a thick mat that blocks out light to anything underneath it. Removing even a small patch takes hours of hand pulling, because the roots weave together like a woven carpet, and any piece left behind will regrow within weeks. USDA zones 4 through 9, most aggressive in zones 6 through 8. What I grow instead now, creeping phlox for sunny slopes with dense pink, lavender or white spring blooms that stay exactly where you plant them. For shadier slopes, barren strawberry with bright yellow spring flowers and a much better behaved spread. Both hardy zones 4 through 9. Plant 1, Lily of the Valley. This one is hard for me to put on this list, because Lily of the Valley is genuinely one of the prettiest plants you can grow. Tiny white bell-shaped flowers, a sweet scent in late spring, the kind of plant people put in wedding bouquets. I planted a small patch under an old oak tree in my backyard. For the first couple years, it stayed small and quiet, just like I expected. By year 5, it had moved several feet from where I planted it, and it was growing right through the roots of a hosta I'd had for even longer. Lily of the Valley spreads through short underground stems, and every tiny piece left behind after digging will grow into a new plant. That part is annoying, but manageable. Here's the part that actually matters, and the reason this plant is number 1 on my list. Every part of Lily of the Valley is toxic if eaten. The leaves, the flowers, and the small red berries that follow the blooms in late summer. If you have young kids or pets who spend time in your yard, that is a real safety concern, not a small detail to brush past. USDA zones 3 through 8. What I grow instead now, sweet woodruff. It has that same delicate white flower cloud in late spring, the same sweet scent, but it is completely non-toxic, and it spreads in a much more well-behaved way. Hardy zones 4 through 8. The patch I planted years ago is still a neat, tidy oval that has never crossed a single line. So that's 8 plants I regret planting, and 8 plants I grow instead now, that give me the same beauty without the years of digging, damage, and headaches. Almost every one of these mistakes started the same way. I read a plant tag that told me exactly what I wanted to hear, and I brought it home without asking 3 simple questions. What does this plant actually look like 5 years from now? What would it cost me to dig it back out? And is it safe for the kids and pets who use my yard? Ask yourself those 3 questions before anything new goes in the ground, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. If this video helped you avoid a mistake in your own yard, that's exactly why I make these. Hit subscribe for more real, practical gardening advice every week. Drop a like if you found this useful, and let me know in the comments, which one of these 8 have you planted before? I read every single comment, and your answers help me pick the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.